You may start, Tamima.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this panel. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. So today we're going to be getting deep into African content, collaborating with international SVOD platforms. With me on the panel, I have Nomsa Filiso, who is Executive Head of Programming from the MultiChoice Group. I have Fauzia Alikimanthi. She's the lead mobile data tribe at Safaricom. We also have Michael Maponga, who is the founder and CEO of Affront TV. And later on, we'll be having Aldrin Sumbuga joining us. He's the Media Regional Marketing Director at StarTimes. So we're going to jump straight into it. I'm going to ask each panelist to perhaps give us a brief background about yourself and your role. Let's kick off with you, Nomsa.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Yeah, my name is Nomsa Philiso, and I'm the Executive Head for Programming for the MultiChoice Group. So as you would know, that MultiChoice Group, we are in 50 countries in Africa, and we also have the Showmax OTT service on our platform.
Thank you. Fauzia.
Morning, everyone. Very glad to be here and to interact with you all. As you've heard, my name is Fauzia Ali, Safaricom, currently mobile data tribe lead. We have gone agile, but previously my role was I was responsible for digital products and services. A key role was to establish a sustainable content business for Safaricom, aligned to what we were seeing as changing customer behavior. Lots of customers wanting choice, a lot of customers growing in terms of number of smartphones. So as you all know, Safaricom is the leading telco operator in Kenya with over 40 million customers, with diverse demands, and content becomes a key part, and just glad to be here to make all the connections and to engage. Thank you.
Right, over to you, Michael.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me this morning. I am Michael Maponga, the founder and CEO of Affront TV. We bring authentic African stories to the global stage. Our markets are largely here in North America and also Europe. We've already become a market leader in terms of bringing African stories to global audiences for free. We are backed by Comcast, NBC Universal, who also believe in us bringing African stories to the markets that we're in, and I'm just excited to be able to share our vision and to make the connections with everybody here.
Okay, starting with you, Fauzia, maybe you can give us some insight into the key elements of the strategy that you've currently deployed when it comes to content and OTT.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it was all driven by what we were seeing in terms of changing customer behavior. We're seeing lots of, like I said, lots of customers getting smartphones. I think the latest report from CA says over 52% of Kenyans have smartphones. We're also starting to see that customers were, the whole element of I want to watch what I want, when I want, how I want. And also for us to grow our mobile data revenues, we were seeing that it was very important for us to collate and bring together very engaging content that aligns to our customer passion points. We've always been content distributors. If you look at our music platform, Skiza, we've always been there for many years, over 10 years, distributing content in short ringtone formats. But what we were seeing, customers were demanding more digital type formats. They were demanding video type formats. And what we saw is that there was a need for us to actually get into this space and provide sort of like content in this space. So we started first by working with partnerships, sort of like very basically working with Google on YouTube, which was actually great because they have diverse content, and we saw great potential there in providing free access to content to our customers. And what we saw is that 97% of customers watch content on their mobile phones. So the key challenge for customers was access to the internet. So by creating a bundled proposition with whatever it is that customers wanted, then we got great success. But we also saw that there was a space where local content creators had a lot of content and were looking for platforms to distribute their content. And hence we launched our platform called Base, where we actually aggregating, our role is as an aggregator, aggregating content from various platform providers. We're using a revenue share model on that platform, and customers pay a one standard fee that gives them access to the content, plus access to a data bundle that allows them access. So on this platform, we are aggregating, all sorts of content from music, comedy, drama, faith, etc. But we're also working with other OTT players, because we've seen that our customers sort of like want diverse types of content, local and international. So one of our partners, of course, is on this called Showmax. We have a mobile proposition where we actually provide the subscription plus a mobile connectivity, and we found that that actually is working quite well. As you've heard, she's saying she's quite comfortable with the numbers that are coming up. So I think our role is mainly as an aggregator, bringing together the platform or OTT or the OTT players, or coming up with a platform that aggregates content, bringing together content creators, and now providing this to our customers in a way that is easy for them to access. So that's basically the strategy that we're deploying.
Okay, thank you for that. So over to you, Nomsa.
Yes.
So early on in what, just before joining the call, I know you and Fauzia were catching up, and one of the things you said was that you're very comfortable with the progress of your product in Kenya. So maybe you can just give us some perspective in terms of what are the key elements of the strategy that you're currently employing in the OTT space.
Okay, I hope now.
Sorry?
Nomsa, go ahead.
Okay. So what we essentially look to do is to strengthen our localization strategy, right? So everything that we do, we make sure that it has got a local nuance, it's the right language, and it's exactly what the customers are asking for. And we do that by making sure that the content that we deploy is engaging, it's relevant, and it's in the language that they want. And then what we also do, we have a three-pronged strategy. The one is to ensure that at any given time, we're able to convert our customers. You know, we have a trial on Showmax for a 14-day trial period. So one of the key tenets that we do is to make sure that we convert them into paying customers. And we do that by making sure that we offer what is relevant and what is engaging. And there are also sometimes we have situations where people come in for a particular title because of its talkability, and then they drop off. So we continue to make sure that we win them back by responding with the right type of content. And of course, the big thing for us, especially in Kenya and in Nigeria, is making sure that we grow, right? Because we've seen the potential. And as I was saying, with the partners that we have with Safaricom, you can actually see that we are on an upward trajectory. So we're quite happy with that performance.
So maybe Michael, you can give us some perspective about Afroland?
Yes, so Affront TV, our focus mainly is to grow within the diaspora outside of the African continent, right? We understand that this diaspora, this audience is a profitable audience in terms of the advertising dollars they're able to bring in. So Affront TV, our strategy is a little bit different, right? We came into the market as an advertising video on demand platform, and we wanted to be able to scale African content regardless of what region of the world you live in, right? Be it in Asia, be it in the United States, be it in South Africa, right? We wanted to be able to offer African stories that are relevant for free, just so we can see the scale, because our initial beliefs are we want African stories to be able to perform at the global stage, right? We want people to be able to go to any local theater, be it here in the United States, be it in Asia, be it in Europe, and still be able to see African titles being presented at those theaters as well, because we can go anywhere in Africa, and we're able to find Hollywood. We can go anywhere. We can go anywhere in Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria, Uganda. We're still able to find Hollywood titles. So initially, what we want to do is, number one, we want to make African content available to everybody, and for it to become a norm in the marketplace. So that's why we launched it as an advertising video on demand. But advertising video on demand has a bad rep in terms of the revenue share, the percentages that the filmmakers are getting. So we wanted to make it much more attractive to work with filmmakers. So we partnered exclusively with Comcast and NBC Universal. They came on board as an investor in Affront TV, and also as a partner in terms of delivering advertising. They have the biggest advertising partners, right? We talk Nike, Coca-Cola, all these big brands when it comes to advertising. We want to make sure that if we are scaling African stories globally, we want our filmmakers to be able to profit from it. The African continent right now, over 1.3 billion people, but yet we have less than 2,000 screens on the continent, right? Screens meaning in movie theaters or cinemas, meaning that our filmmakers are struggling to monetize this content. right? And then obviously we have the big players now starting to come into the market. You have the Netflixes, you have the Amazons, and of course, Showmax is a big player as well in that region. But we have so many storytellers, and they're fighting to get positioning and placements on all of these platforms. And of course, this is rich and healthy for us, but we have to diversify our distribution and also our models for African stories to really penetrate not only just the African market, but the international market as well. So we have to be willing to partner with players that might seem as competitors, because they might have a bigger reach, and be able to partner with them in terms of African content reaching a maximum audience threshold. So in terms of just our strategy, that's where we are focusing. We want to scale as fast as possible. That's why we selected our business model, but also keeping it, making sure that it's profitable for our filmmakers and continue to diversify the streams of income for African filmmakers.
Okay, Aldrin has just joined us. Good to see you, Aldrin. Maybe you can give us some perspective into what your overall strategy is as StarTimes in the OTT space.
You are welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad I'm finally on. I'm sorry I was a bit late. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. We can get you loud and clear.
Okay. It's true. We are in a space which, of course, has been attacked by a lot of players on that platform. And as players in the pay TV industry, I think more than anyone, we are feeling the impact most. Not least because for us at StarTimes, for instance, we are not yet in a position to launch a service that directly, for example, competes with the likes of Netflix, Showmax, and the likes, and Amazon and the likes. So we've got to still focus on our traditional business, which is pay TV content. But now what we've done is to appreciate the importance of gadgets like the phone and the tablets and the computers, and people having to spend more time as a matter of convenience using their data to access most of these services. So our app, which is the StarTimes On app, is one that for now we are placing high up there by encouraging customers, both DVB customers and those that are not yet with us, to download the app, because what we've done is to upload a lot of the content that they go for. For instance, here in Africa, especially East Africa, the element of local content has become so important to a lot of people. And as long as they can access, especially the news channels from wherever they are into live sport a lot, for example. They like a lot of local dramas, and a lot of them don't necessarily keep at home. So what they are doing is to use a lot of their viewing time utilizing the OTT. So what we are doing is to come up with packages, different packages. When we realize that a certain type of content is important, we come up with a package. Sometimes we can call it VIP package or whatever name suits, so that we give it a special price to encourage them that if they choose our OTT platform, they can still pay a particular price, very, very affordable price, and still be able to access that type of content. Now, significantly, we're also realizing that what we can't run away from is the fact that a lot of our traditional subscribers are into the space of movies, things like telenovelas. Thankfully, a lot of them as well are still in the space of thirsting and searching for local content. So what we are doing on our OTT platform, we've tried as much as possible to put as much local content channels as possible, because in a lot of them as well, especially the ones we've get into partnership with them, we have some exclusive programming which we've placed on specific FTA channels, which are accessible on the OTT platform. Now, what we are trying to do is to build audiences using exclusive content selected for particular FTA channels and driving specific time viewing slots to book their time. the example of why we've gone into things like local football, for example, positioning it as local content, but sport. Then we enter into partnerships with the local FTA channels, where we can now schedule specific times and specific days and dates. So when you're promoting this content, we push those particular days, those particular times, on those particular channels, but alongside all the promotions that we do, whether it is online, whether it is offline, whether it is electronic or otherwise, we push the app start times on to keep reminding them that while you can watch this content over DVB platform, you can still conveniently still watch the same over OTT. And remember, for start times, we've also have things like flexible payment systems, where we are saying, okay, we understand that it's more expensive all the time. It gets more expensive. So if you can't afford the monthly payments, you can choose the weekly payments, you can choose the daily payments, but beyond that, you now have specific packages on the OTT, which you can pay and you enjoy a lot more. It's a bit complex, but we are appreciating that it's the only way to do it. And also what we do is not to push the OTT platform independently, because that way, in terms of revenues, we are also aware we would never get the same amount of revenues through OTT as we are getting through the linear platforms and the traditional platforms. So we use it mostly as an element of convenience and as an element of added on revenue, not necessarily as though it is the future which is going to replace our traditional business, which is TV. So we are cognizant of that fact. We need to keep them convenience, but we can never be not realistic enough to know that they will still always come down to TV. So we still prioritize the TV space.
Okay, thank you for that insight. Now, Nomsa, maybe if you could perhaps, because everyone is saying that content is king, so maybe just give us a bit more insight into what your strategy details are in terms of the type of program. Audrey talked about live sports as an example for him. So for you strategically, where are you seeing most traction?
Yes, indeed. The most traction that we are seeing is the local content titles that we have. And I think it's simply because people want to see themselves on TV. People want things that are relatable to the self, right? So from a Showmax point of view, the one thing that sets us apart is the unique original titles, right? So a lot of the titles that we push forward are original titles that are exclusive to Showmax. And we've seen that in terms of genre and the multiplicity of language, that's really what seems to be the sweet spot. And in terms of genre, we're quite diverse, right? We have got crime thrillers, we have got psychological thrillers. All of those elements allow us to be as diverse as possible in order for us to catch as many audiences as possible. And also, we on the Showmax Pro package, we have sport, because Super Sport is also part of MultiChoice. So we share the spoils between Super Sport and Showmax Pro. And we've seen that there's a particular growth in terms of the people that are coming in for sport, where, you know, previously they would just come for general entertainment, but now we've seen that they're coming in for sport. But yeah, local, as long as it's regionalized and specific to the particular region, it's a winner.
Michael, now for Afroland, maybe you can give us a bit more insight in terms of who the target audience is, and also probably the what kind of content is the diaspora specifically looking for from Africa?
Correct. So I'll start with this, with the latter, with the second part of the question, in terms of what the audience is looking for in terms of content specifically directed towards animation. What we are seeing on our side is users are engaging with authentic African stories, right? Filmmakers, let's not lose our core roots as Africans in terms of us putting stories out there about our cultures, about our kingdoms, about the great feats that, you know, our countries or our nationalities have been able to, or I would say kingdoms have been able to achieve. Right. So with this, I'm leaning towards the epic side of content. Right. People are looking to see more of Africa pre-colonial era. And what I mean by that, it seems a lot of the content making it outside of Africa into the diaspora markets always seem to focus on post-colonial, right? For example, the struggle for freedom, slavery, and all this content that just amplifies Black struggle. That does not perform well on Affront TV. We don't bring content that is focused on the subservient genre, right? The slave genre. So in terms of content performing really well, keep it localized, as everybody is saying on here. Keep it localized, but also make sure that it's universally appealing, right? Regardless of where you are. People love dramas. People love love stories, romance. People love horrors, but just create that title from an African perspective, because people want to see unique stories, right? And that's why you see successes on large streaming platforms for what's the show on Netflix that just blew up from Korea? Squid Game. Squid Game, right? It was authentic to its culture, but it was still universally appealing. So as Africans, let's not create content to appeal the West or to appeal that diaspora, right? Let's create content to appeal our audiences that tell authentic African stories, but also make it universally appealing, right? Add an element of love, because everybody's looking for love. Add an element of horror, right? Add an element of fun, of comedy, because everybody loves to laugh. Right, but stay authentically true to yourself and your culture. So for animation, and just to finish my train of thought, we're seeing a lot of success specifically on the education and family entertainment. Everybody is home in terms of just because of COVID, right? We're seeing content that appeals to both adults and also children that they can watch together, see more successes. For example, if you go on AffrontTV.com, there's a movie called Minga and the Broken Spoon, right? It's an animation about a girl and this mystical spoon that broke, and then she has to go on this journey. She finds a prince, and it's an authentically African animation story, and it's been very successful. We also have another one called Christmas with the King. Right, it's a Christmas movie that was authentically told from an African perspective. So stay true to culture, stay true to our own stories, but also have elements that can make it universal, such as love, romance, comedies, and all the other genres.
Right. So Nomsa, obviously MultiChoice has a huge appetite for content, specifically on the continent. So we've talked about different genres, sports, we've talked about fiction, drama, kids, animation. But do you believe that there is any particular type of content or genre where there seems to be a gap, and maybe content creators can do more to fill up that particular space?
Look, there's always an opportunity for new ideas. We've been in the business for 30 years, and we kind of understand exactly what the market wants. But what we are looking for from producers is, would like to have passion projects, right? Because sometimes it's not about what was successful last year, but it's about what you truly believe in and what you think can make a difference. So if you look at your area, you know that there are certain stories that are so important, but maybe have not been told on a platform. So I find that sometimes people are conservative in trying to go into those spaces. So as long as it is something that is you're passionate about and it's fresh and original, we are very willing to look at those type of things. What is important is that it must resonate with your audience. As Michael said, things like animation, we're already in the process with an animation project in Nigeria, because we realize that there is still a gap there, and we all know, everybody says animation is expensive and nobody wants to go into it, but it's quite an important genre because it can cut across, right? And it helps us to cover all aspects. So if you look at our performance in Showmax, we have got a very good performance on kiddies, right? So those are some of the things that we need to make sure that we're not just seeing the international offerings, but we're also seeing African stories from a kiddies point of view.
Right. So Fozia, you talked about Base. So maybe you can give us some insight into what makes Base unique, and also from a point of sourcing content. So what models are you currently dealing in with the content owners?
Okay, so we launched Base about just under 2 years ago, and the idea of launching Base was because we felt that I mean, just like everyone has said, there's a lot of content in Kenya, and not many places for content creators to actually place their content. There was also the challenge of monetization of content, which I think we've all talked about. And what we saw was an opportunity to bring this content to our customers, who are currently just under 20 million, who have at least a smartphone, and an opportunity for that monetization to take place. So currently, how we actually pay. What can I say? The business model that we have adopted at the moment is a revenue share model. So currently we have a daily charge, and on that revenue that is earned, 60% goes to the content aggregator and 40% stays with Safaricom. Ideally, the 40% is just to facilitate us to manage the platform where we are aggregating the content, where we pay our platform provider. Currently, we're working with a company called Mobi Media out of South Africa, and also to facilitate with advertising and marketing. So we actually help the content creators who bring content on our platform to market that particular content. And what we've seen is that, of course, when you get exclusive content and it's coming regularly, it does sell quite a bit. So we had some exclusive titles when we started. So we had a film, actually, a full film, Submission to Rescue, which was launched on the platform when we launched. We have some other interesting titles. We have Authentics, we have Socialites, we have Masebia and Jugush. But just like we've said, comedy, drama, you know, the kind of content that we relate to is resonating quite well. But we're also seeing titles around lifestyle, faith, kids content also becoming quite interesting coming through. Now, how do we source content? We currently have a small team. Currently it's internal, but I think now we want to formalize it, sort of like have an agency that does this for us, that actually calls out for content. So we call out for content. Content creators place their content on our platform. We have a look at it before we can say, okay, fine, this is content we can put through. We have sort of like a content, we sort of like have guidelines of the type of content we want in terms of quality. And once we're in agreement, we sign a contract. But what happens is that because we can't work directly with all the content creators, we have selected aggregators that the content creators can, sort of like interface with. But it's very, very easy to place your content on our platform. All the information is on our website, www.safaricom.co.ke/base, or even if you just type base, you'll be able to get all the information. So yeah, that's how we currently going. But what we've seen is that it's important, if you want to get good content, to move to sort of like a pre-licensed type model. So we are exploring that so that we can be able to get exclusivity for a longer period of time. And that's something that we'll be getting into in our new year, our new financial year starts in April. Yeah.
So what mix are you using in terms of how then you're able to access the content, and also how are you able to sustain strong networks with content creators? And in the same breath, maybe what are some of the challenges that you're seeing in terms of the quality of content that is coming through?
So in terms of the mix that we have, so we do have originally produced content, but we also license and acquire a lot of ready-made content, right, from the different providers. But what we also have are very strong relationships with some of the international streamers. For instance, Showmax is really seen as the home of HBO, because whilst we realize the importance of local content, we also realize that we're part of the global village, right? So people want a mix. So we make sure that we diversify our offering in that way. So we've also seen that our international offering performs quite well as well. So we try to do that mix. And I think that in terms of other partnerships that we already have, for instance, as a multi-choice group, in terms of the boxes that we already have Netflix available there. We already have other streamers so that people can come into one place and find what it is that they want, because we believe that partnerships are probably the most poignant at this point, because no one can win this race alone. So we try as far as possible to mix and match our partnerships.
In terms of the quality of content from local producers, are you experiencing challenges?
So what is happening is that in the different regions that we are in, we're seeing a different level of maturity, right? But all in all, there's a huge improvement in terms of production quality, but production quality also has to do with investment, right? So if you pay a reasonable cost per minute, you will get a reasonable product. So we're seeing quite a huge improvement, especially in East Africa, where, you know, when you look, it really doesn't say that, you know, it's from East Africa or South Africa. It's good quality content that is coming through. So yes, there's still room. There'll always be room for us to improve, but we're starting to really see good propositions coming through.
Okay, so a question from someone who's following the panel is, Nomsa, does MultiChoice have an acquisition strategy for an animation?
Yes, so it is something that we are new at, but it's something that we, in terms of our outlook, it's something that we want to really accelerate, because we do believe that it's a gap that we have in our offering. So yes, absolutely, we're open to receive proposals.
Okay, Michael, so a question to you. How does Afroland handle the producer relationship, and also how are you structuring your deals in terms of how do the content owners get paid in your model? And if you can, maybe you can give examples of the type, level, and amounts of revenue that you're currently dealing in.
Yes. So our model is we wanted to scale fast in the market, right? So like I mentioned before, our model is advertising video on demand, which is a revenue share. So 60-40, with 60% remaining with the content producer or the distribution partners. In terms of just numbers size, one of the things that we've been able to execute within the last year since we've been commercially available is our exclusive deal with premium advertisers. So let's just say, and we can do the comparisons to, let's say, putting your title on YouTube, because YouTube is another advertising video on demand. If something gets 5 million views on Affront TV, we can generate upwards of $75,000 in gross revenues, right? Obviously now there's splits in there, right? Obviously the 60% and the 40%, and obviously the advertising fees. But we're able to generate substantial profits in terms of just advertising for our filmmakers. Now, let me be transparent here. This does not mean that every single thing that comes to Affront TV succeeds, right, and grosses millions of dollars, right? We're still a young company. We do have strong backing. We are one of the market leaders in terms of having hundreds of thousands of users watching African content every single month, right? This is a partnership, right? We expect our filmmakers that partner with Affront TV to also be working parallel with us in terms of marketing, right? We have to work together to get the stories out there. So I'm always transparent with our filmmakers. Nothing is guaranteed, because again, film is an experience good. You have to watch it to be able to say if you like it or not, right? So I'm very transparent when we approach filmmakers saying, hey, listen, these are the potentials, right? We have advertising deals with Nissan, right? Nissan's able to put advertising on our platform directly, and they're paying a lot of money for that, right? So there is the potential, but this is not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. It is going to take some time for us to get to the level where we want to be. But just to give you as a comparison, that 5 million views, you compare that with what content creators are making on YouTube for 5 million views, is basically nothing. But once on Affront TV, we're able to generate upwards of $75,000 in terms of gross revenues. One of the exciting things that we did launch, one of our biggest milestones for this year, is we launched the first African kids 24/7 linear channel in the United States ever with our partner Roku. So it's a linear channel that strictly plays just African kids content 24/7. What we are seeing with animation, specifically African animation, is it's not only just for African people, right? There's large audiences here, mainly African Americans, that want their children to see relevant titles as well. They want to see themselves in cartoons, in educational cartoons or family cartoons. So we're seeing a large success, not only with just our core audience, which is the African diaspora, but also African Americans that are now interested and want to educate their kids about their heritage, about their ancestry. You're now seeing people wanting to learn more about Africa, wanting to understand Africa better. So this is a vehicle for us in terms of serving both general audiences and also kids audiences that we cannot forget.
Aldrin, maybe you can give us a bit more insight in terms of how you're differentiating your product, and also is partnership part of that strategy? Are you muted? You're muted, you have to unmute.
Sorry,
Yeah,
could you ask that again, please?
Yeah, maybe you can give us some insight into how you're differentiating your product, and also are partnerships part of your strategy?
Yes, they are. I'll give you an example here in Uganda. We acknowledge that because our core business, for instance, is not in data, in the data space, we have made partnerships with leading telecommunication companies like MTN, Airtel. What we do, because at the end of the day, they do like content on their side, and they have data that they are selling. So it's important for them as well to have a reason to price their data the way they price it, to come up with different packages, but they couldn't come up with that if they didn't have content. So what they do with us, when we get into these partnerships, we do offer them a range of content to choose from, depending on the customers that they think can consume their content best, and what periods, because they have the data to guide that. Once we understand that, then we look at the content we have and we tailor it to target specific audiences and at specific times. And then what they do then, they give us specific data packages to drive specific content, targeting specific audiences. And then jointly, we also enter into joint promotions, because either way, when we do go out there and we make noise, we are trying to make people, of course, buy more of their data, while at the same time, they are also consuming our content, and we're increasing our uptake on start times, the app downloads, but as well also the VIP price packages that we come up with. And it's worked for us, and it's working for them as well. So, and it's a long-term strategy that we think we can only develop further. So those kinds of partnerships help us a lot, acknowledging that we are not very strong on that side, and we wouldn't even go into that space anyway. If there are players there already, we're only too happy to partner with them. But also as well, they help us a lot in critiquing the content that we have, because they understand their audiences better. It gives us an opportunity to understand these audiences from our side as well, because then we are able to understand whether customers who, for example, use their phones, customers who use their tablets, and they depend on them to watch content, whether their viewing habits and their tastes are necessarily the same as the customers we target on our DVB side. And it helps us a lot not to take things for granted, and not to just come up with things that may not be taken up by the customers. So yes, those partnerships are things that we do, as well as also partnering with producers. A lot of the panelists have talked about production and what they're doing on that side, and how they're coming up with all this content that they choose to go into. What we are doing also on our side is to partner with local content producers, but after providing with them data on, again, viewing habits of our customers and the people we target. They are now up developing specific content as well, which we can specifically buy for our OTT audience, not necessarily DVB-T. So what we're also realizing that you don't necessarily have to give exactly the same content for your OTT consumers as the one that you give to your TV. So even if, for instance, the soap is the same or the drama is the same, you will still have to go and edit and reproduce it because of the audience that you're targeting the other side. Now, all this comes out of learning your audience, doing research and understanding that it's the best way you can to keep them with you and also to attract them and convince them that you're thinking about them all the time. So partnerships, yes, continue to be a part of our way of doing business.
Right. So Fauzia, maybe you can give us some insight into perhaps what is crucial when you are building an attractive offer for the customers. And do you have metrics of a successful partnership that perhaps you can share with us?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing we see is that we do is just to try and understand what is it that customers want. And the good thing about it is that there's a lot of information that we can draw from in terms of understanding what customers actually want. And the second thing is now to go out and look for the content from all the different partners who are there, whether it's directly with content producers or even media houses. I forgot to mention that we actually work quite closely with media houses here in Kenya, whether it's Nation Media, K24, Standard Group, Citizen through Viusasa. You know, they have a lot of content that we can be able to actually provide. The third thing I think is because customers want the freedom of choice to watch whatever it is whenever they want, I think whatever platform or whatever partner we work with, there's the element of personalization. So for example, if you're coming to integrate with Showmax, customers want that element of saying that because I've been watching this, I want you to be able to personalize my content to what it is that you've seen that I like, so that you kind of use my data to give me what it is that I like. So that element of recommendation becomes a key feature in whatever app or it is that we integrate with our customers. But of course, the last two items is how much is it? Free is best for most of our customers because they have to still go and look for mobile data. Like we said, 97% of them are watching on phone, but at least it has to be reasonably priced in a way that they can be able to afford. Because if it's not, they will keep switching. The need is still there, so they'll go for it wherever it is that they can afford. But in the end, I think the content will be king. The content will lead. The quality of the content, how it's delivered, how it connects, will always be the determining factor in terms of saying this will definitely be a success factor. On our part, what we're saying is that we are going to work with the partners in terms of marketing and advertising so that our customers can see it. We'll leverage our own platforms, whether it's the direct SMSing, whether it's leveraging our app and our website. We will use our platforms to market that content and ensure that customers can be able to see it, and we can create the relevant monetization for the content creator. You're on mute, Tamima.
Our time is almost up. We have 3 minutes left. So I'm going to throw the last question to you, Nomsa. Maybe you can wind us down by giving us your views on what you believe will be the market evolution in the next couple of years.
Look, I think one of the things that we need to admit is that streaming service in Africa has not been easy, but it is absolutely an exciting time for us. So what we're seeing is that each region has got different challenges. You know, in other regions we have power outages, in other regions we have got not enough data, you know, so every area that you go into, you have got to try and find the unique and bespoke solution to that region so that you can, you know, be ahead of the curve. But I think overall that everybody's in it to win it, but I think that there's not going to be a single winner, but I think collaboration is going to be the one key factor that sees us over the line. But from a MultiChoice point of view, we are ready to do business. We are willing to co-finance some of the projects. We are willing to impart our teachings in terms of what we've learned. So yeah, we're very excited about where we are and very excited about the growth of Showmax overall.
So 2 minutes, Michael, any views in terms of the market evolution?
Yes, no, thank you. In terms of just the evolution, filmmakers, a couple of things that I can share, right? Make sure that you're not just creating a good product in terms of movie, show, whatever it is, but make sure that it has good metadata, right? Synopsis, make sure that your cast is listed, make sure that you do a very thorough job in explaining what the movie is, because nowadays, there's so much content out there. Understand that you're not competing with just localized content, but you're now competing with international content. So what is two things that are very, very, that can make you stand out as a filmmaker is, number one, your poster, right? Because we're literally in the industry of, if I see something, I'm willing to click on it, right? So make sure that your posters are phenomenal, right? The second thing is make sure that your synopsis is very clear, because on a streaming platform, for somebody to engage with your content, the first thing that they see is your poster. The second thing, if they're interested in the poster, they'll read the synopsis. So if those two things are very clear, those two things are very attractive, your content has success, has a wider range to succeed. So focus on those two things, posters and metadata, right? Just make sure that it's clear. This also helps with marketing, especially as you are going up against other titles from everywhere in the world.
So that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much to all the panelists for your time, and to everyone who was watching us. I hope we've earned the privilege of your time. Over to you, Shana or Beatrice.